You think he wanted to die?
I do.
Controversy surrounding the handling of late rapper Juice WRLD's now limited music and legacy has always been a talking point between various communities, whether it be on Discord, Reddit, Twitter, or other platforms. When the Juice WRLD Into the Abyss documentary released on December 16th, 2021, the community seemed to find new peace surrounding what had happened the night of Juice's unfortunate demise. But recently, we found that all may have been fabricated. I present to you Underworld, the documentary. The day is November 30th, 2019. Juice had just finished performing at the Spilt Milk Ballarat in Victoria Park, Ballarat, Australia, shortly after ending his Australia tour of 2019 the day before.
I have some advice to give you before we part ways. Listen, I want to tell y'all that y'all could do whatever the fuck you want to do in this life. Whether you want to be a rapper, an actor, a doctor, a lawyer, whatever the fuck you want to be, you can do that shit. So go out there, put in the work and do that shit. If there's anybody telling you that you can't do it, anybody that's holding you back, anybody that's not encouraging you to do what you want to do in this life, all you gotta do is just pull them to the side politely and be like, bitch, suck my dick! I fucking love y'all. Juice WRLD until the world blows.
Fans anxiously waited for his next performance that would take place after Juice WRLD's 21st birthday, a sentimentally significant number being preached by Juice in his hit song named Legends, where the phrase "we ain't make it past 21" is sung. Fast forward to December 2nd, 2019, Juice made it. He had celebrated his 21st birthday and appeared healthy to his fans. All was well until December 8th, 2019, where Juice had passed away in Chicago's Midway Airport in Chicago, Illinois. The music community was shocked, and many were heavily affected and searching for answers. Juice WRLD Into the Abyss was a highlight within all communities, for everyone finally received some insight as to what happened on the night of Juice's death, being backed not by simple statements on an Instagram story, but rather multiple familiar faces on a full-length film documentary, featuring faces such as Chris Long, Lil Bibby, Unnecessary Balling, Ali Lottie, The Kid Laroi, and even more. This would prove to give fans what they wanted to hear ever since December 8th, 2019, being some sort of answer. However, some were still searching for more. In the HBO documentary, Juice's death was explained as a police bust gone wrong, where the pilot seemed suspicious to multiple people on the plane ever since their boarding.
I remember seeing the pilot do something that looked kind of, weird, I guess. I remember just sitting down. He was just like, kind of on the side, just observing us.
Which was tragically followed by Juice seizing from an overdose with police not helping in time. Let's pause here and rewind to the beginning of this timeline, starting from boarding the plane. Aircraft N228MD took off at 10:23 p.m. CST from VNY Airport 3 hours and 13 minutes after the scheduled departure time of 7:15 p.m. CST. Being the last flight Juice took, arrival took place at the Chicago Midway Airport at 1:28 a.m. CST, which totals 3 hours and 5 minutes of travel time. Prior to landing, however, as cell service reached their phones, the group was informed that police were waiting, hence the group was mentally preparing for what was to come.
Did Juice know the cops were waiting for him?
Yeah, I mean, we all know because it was on the group chat. Like, we got a group chat with everybody that was there. So
was he freaking out?
No, he was chilling, you know, so.
Shortly after arrival, a police search for contraband in their luggage ensued, and the following information will be sourced from the police report of the unfortunate incident that followed. At exactly 2:03 a.m. on December 8th, 2019, 35 minutes after arrival, Juice collapsed, started to convulse, and Ali Lottie began to scream out for help. Immediately attending to Juice, officers put him in the medical recovery position and administered 2 shots of Narcan, a medication used to treat opioid overdoses. And while the seizure halted, Juice began to bleed from the nose, which was followed by bleeding from the mouth. He was taken to the hospital, however, unfortunately, at 3:14 a.m. CST, he was pronounced dead.
TMZ is reporting rapper Juice WRLD is dead after suffering a seizure at Chicago's Midway Airport.
Taken from the police report, we know that this incident most likely took place in this room. These photos, however, are not of the scene at the specific time and are rather outdated if we consider other factors. Let's take a look at the original photos and compare it to pictures of the 70-pound marijuana bust. While it was revealed that law enforcement and the group was in the same room, we can assume that Juice had started convulsing in this area. Surely something must have happened on the plane, right? In the flight crew witness accounts, it was mentioned that all passengers on the plane were asleep throughout the entire 3-hour and 5-minute flight, and there were no fights, arguments, or struggles, meaning that during the flight before landing, the group, including Juice, remained calm and accepted what was to come, seemingly. Additionally, there were other pieces of information that will be touched on later. Although it is widely known that Juice had an addiction to Percocets and lean, the question of why his overdose had happened then was still left unanswered. On the plane, there were no fights, everyone was sleeping through the flight, and when awoken, everyone remained calm. So what happened? The 3 main theories are as follows. Was it an effort to hide the drugs? Was it a suicide? Or was it just purely coincidental? The first question would be instantly invalidated by the fact that there was about 70 pounds of marijuana on the plane, and of course because of the amount there would be no way to hide those drugs. Furthermore, in the police report, it was found that there were loose pills plus an additional 9 A215 Percocet pills on Juice, meaning that he didn't attempt to swallow everything in his possession. The following questions want to consider subjective. Could it have been a suicide? It most definitely could have been, but multiple factors, whether it be within unreleased lyrics or the desire to be a family man, point towards the idea that Juice wanted to live life longer and fulfill other life goals.
Being a family man, being a lover, that boy's a lover. That boy understands love more than a lot of people. That boy's a lover. I think just being a well-rounded human being.
These 2 theories are well refuted by Chris Long, Juice's videographer that was with Juice whilst he suffered his overdose, which he explains in this interview.
Everybody thinks, you know, there was this, I don't know, it was on TMZ or whatever, that like, oh, Juice knew the cops were coming, so took a handful of pills, and like, that's not what happened. I'm like, Juice did drugs, yes, you know what I mean, but he didn't try to hide them, or he literally, like, someone else held the duffel bag and had all of it. Like, there'd be no possible way for anybody to eat that amount of pills and think it's going to be okay. And like, Juice didn't want to die. He wasn't going to kill himself. He knew he wasn't going to get in trouble. He had people around him that are going to take care of.
Now, for the question of if it was coincidental, it again most definitely could have been. Juice might have heightened his tolerance so much he needed more to feel the high he wanted to achieve, and this is supported by the fact that Juice was willing to partake in rehab, which was meant for Juice to quit drugs entirely, but really, it was Juice's method of lowering his tolerance, and his close friends knew this. He didn't want to stop. However, even so, this would have been highly coincidental considering other factors, such as the fact that the overdose happened shortly after leaving the plane, only 35 minutes after it had arrived. With little information, these questions stood, and it was anyone's guess as to the varying possibilities. Until this.
That was 2 days straight, heartbroken over what's going on, and I've been quiet for the past 1.5 years plus, and to myself, took myself away from everyone because I knew what was going to happen. If people knew what happened the day before Jared passed and the day that Jared passed and everything like that, which I cannot speak upon at this moment, but I will. I just have to make sure that I am safe. So please, one, don't show anyone this, but two, know that you guys have my full support because I cannot let Jared's legacy be what it is. Jared would never treat any of his fans like this, one, and two, would never, ever let. It's always been about money. And Jared made enough money to not have this issue. I would literally sit on his lap every day and be like, don't go record. They don't need us. They don't need you anymore. You made so many songs that we're a liability being here. They didn't think I was going to make it through this year. There's been plenty of times that we'll make sure that shit changes. I just have to make sure that I am safe first. So, again, please don't show. I'm going to break. Well, first I'm going to take it to court because they had me sign an NDA while I was in no state of mind to, while they had brought me drugs and made sure I was high and left me alone, literally lived in my home and did not, they would walk right past my door. No one checked on me. No one made sure I was okay. Nothing. I've done this alone. And that's why I'm so quiet, because I know what I know.
Recently, this video was leaked of Ali Lottie, Juice's girlfriend, which shows her privately sending a video to an unknown person with some eyebrow-raising information, explaining how she was forced to sign an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, which is a formal document that prevents sensitive information from being publicized. And we see that this information was surrounding what happened around the time of Juice's death. This NDA she was made sign whilst in a state of mind that was not fully capable to understand what exactly she was signing, which from a spectator standpoint raises questions as to why she would be presented an NDA whilst not sober. This made it seem like there was more that had happened that we don't know of, something serious. Regarding Juice's death, this instantly sparked the interest of thousands, leading to even news sources such as XXL posting about it on their respective pages. This singular video, never meant to reach the surface of the internet, had claimed that Juice's death was fabricated and that the label is not what they seem they are, and all hell let loose. Shortly after, you'd find fragments of statements from a lot of relevant names to Juice, and while there were statements supporting either sides of the story alongside demands to explain further, one statement that stood out was that of Max Lords, an engineer/producer part of the 808 Mafia, that you would most likely recognize with this music tag.
808 Mafia. 808 Mafia.
These tweets, prompted by other dramas and the sudden video of Ali Lottie, had opened a whole new can of worms, demonstrating the allegedly violent and money-hungry tendency of Juice's management. In his long tweet, Max Lord would mention a multitude of disheartening things, such as the following. They called me in March of 2020, threatening me to give them my recording equipment, demanding that I come set it up at their house and leave it there, which wasn't even very much gear at the time. I'm sure they can afford the $8,000 worth of my equipment. Puzzling fans, this statement would bring up questions as to why they would want to do this, but this was soon partly answered in the same tweet, being explained as trying to smear my name in relation to Juice to get me out of their way. But now the question of why would they try to smear his name now stood, and the only reasonable theory would be that maybe Max Lord had disagreements and often stood up for himself and Juice, when perhaps nobody else would, hindering the decision process of the management. Later in the tweet, Max mentions how he had gotten in physical altercations because Juice didn't like beats G-Money tried to have him record on the day before he passed away that he would profit from, supporting the theory and demonstrating that this was most likely the case, where Max was among the only ones to stand up to something he deemed not right, which makes sense for why the label would want to get rid of Max. They would have more control, and after all, he did engineer a large portion of Juice's music. The real shock, however, would come from the fact that Max claimed that he was threatened to be killed, as well as the fact that all of a sudden Juice's community went from despising Ali to having sympathy with this new knowledge. A small point worth mentioning regards Juice's last hours on the flight from Los Angeles to Chicago. Although Juice was going to celebrate his birthday after arriving back, why was there 41 vacuum-sealed bags of marijuana totaling 70 pounds? This is an open-ended question, but regardless, it's still something to note. It's also worth emphasizing due to it being overlooked. Juice must have taken drugs after realizing a police search was going to occur, having his overdose take place whilst in the lounge room of the Atlantic Aviation Terminal. As for what prompted him to take these pills, whether it be to numb stress from the police incident or other factors, is still unknown. Aside from the police reports and leaked documents, the event that influenced Juice to ingest more drugs than he should have is still unexplained, but with the leaked video of Ali and Max's tweets, we now know that leading up to his death, there were other things that may have influenced the amount of drugs he took on December 8th, 2019. December 7th, 2019 is a date to consider when searching for the truth. It had not only been mentioned by Max Lord in his tweet with the event of an altercation, but also in the Ali Lottie video.
What happened the day before Jared passed.
This points to the idea that December 7th must have had a considerable impact on Juice, and while this could have just been the altercation following Juice not wanting to record on a beat, it seems to be a more serious topic that we have yet to find out. First of many to come, an unreleased song that has yet to release named Bottle had leaked in the February of 2018. Up until his death, Juice was no stranger to his music being leaked, regardless of if he was going to put the song on an album or not.
A nigga still be having the nerve to have my shit saying, we gonna leak this, we gonna leak that, we gonna hack your shit. For what? What is wrong with y'all? Not y'all, but for what though? Like, why are you hacking me? Like, what the fuck?
However, at the time, the unreleased community was rather small and the infamous Juice WRLD leaks were not as mainstream as they are now. This small yet devoted community would hold group buys for some songs, in other words, a crowdfund for a song to leak, and the prices would be around the $500 US area, price varying by song, which in comparison with other artists' unreleased prices was quite expensive even then. Fast forward to after Juice had died, the community grew with the collective knowledge that Juice's addicting music was now limited, and no more would be made. Over time, these prices would increase based on the fact that more and more people began to donate. With each song leaking, less and less other songs had the unleaked status, as well as because it became harder to come by some songs than others. Some highly sought after songs would leak, while others, despite prolonged support and hype, remained in the vaults of individuals. These vaults, so to speak, however, were more of an oligopolistic system, in the sense that songs rarely were in the hands of people other than the main leakers, whilst still having the unleaked status. But how exactly did this community grow when the faces of Juice's management have consistently and openly stated that leaks ruin everything? The case of Juice WRLD's unreleased music is one that is unique. Having the largest following of any unreleased community, the reasoning is understandable from a neutral standpoint, as it not only had been alleged that Juice had beef with his label in terms of dropping music whilst alive, but also after his death, the actions of the label showing money-hungry tendencies made leak listeners think it wasn't so bad to listen to leaks. Furthermore, even some producers of yet-to-be-released songs give off the impression that they support leaks, or at least don't mind them, and this can be seen with a song that features the artist Made in Tokyo, as well as a song produced by Forza.
Thanks. Would you be upset if your song would Juice leak? No, only because there's probably not a chance of it actually being released. So if it did got leaked, I wouldn't be mad because then it would just, that's probably what ended up happening to it anyway.
Now, while everyone makes mistakes, the label has rarely seen days where they were praised universally between all communities. And after the events on December 8th, their ability to handle a legacy was put to the test. Having the label basically represent Juice, the fans took notice and held them to a high standard. Understandably so, just as Juice had held himself to a high standard for his fans. Throughout the years, the label have been criticized for a variety of things, ranging from merch designs to bad mixes on songs. And for these and other reasons, fans started to stray away from supporting the label, moving to leaks instead. This action of losing hope in the label slowly increased, yet the group of people who listened to leaks still were hoping that somehow the label could improve itself. In the summer of 2021, where the Party Never Ends album was first announced, group buys continued for unleaked songs, which was until Go Hard was announced as the next group buy. Biting the hand that fed them and giving the label a chance, those that listened to leaks didn't want to buy a song that was supposedly on The Party Never Ends. And in turn, for a brief period of time, support for the label was at an all-time high, even starting a mini trend within Discord communities with people spamming #LabelSummer in chats, mocking the yearly occurrence of an event held in the summer that served the purpose of selling highly desired songs named Grail Summer. This refusal to donate for the song Go Hard, of course, halted any future group buys for a period of time. Seemingly not paying attention to the community's civil war, the label didn't do much, if anything, with this opportunity, having given this chance to the label, with nothing happening as a result. Leak listeners came back to support leakers, thinking once more that the label doesn't listen to Juice's fans. Additionally, The Party Never Ends was originally supposed to drop the same summer it was announced, being advertised as an album that would run this summer. While the group buys stopped, some individuals decided to step into the community and began building up their vaults, spending incomprehensible amounts on unleaked songs, occasionally showing off what they might give back to the community. Earlier, it was established that the communities are divided regarding the topic of leaks, to imitate what the faces of the label, Lil Bibby and Pete, do as a way to listen to the community through an Instagram group chat containing multiple fan pages. I decided to contact multiple fan pages to appear on this documentary. We can assume that because fan pages post different content related to Juice or report on the latest news, each fan page can have a different group of collective opinions. Presented relevant questions, this is what they had to say.
Yes.
I do listen to leaks, and majority of people that I know listen to leaks too, but I kind of limit myself in terms of what leaks I listen to, because I only listen to around maybe 50. I have everything, and I just rotate between the 50. And I mean, there's so much music of Juice out there, it's hard not to listen to a leak. You might even listen to a leak on YouTube by accident, you never know.
Yeah, I listen to leaks all the time.
Yes, I do listen to leaks. This is probably something that if you watch me, you definitely know this. I literally told this to Pete on Instagram Live, and I've said it to him that I literally listen to leaks.
I listen to leaks due to the fact that the label does not give us enough, whether it's music or EPs or whatever it is. You know, his unreleased has a lot of like meaning, and I relate to some of that, whether it's relationship, substance abuse, etc. And his unreleased is much better than his released.
Nah, yeah, I listen to leaks because his label basically just trying to push the agenda of sad songs, and like with his unreleased, you get all types. Hype, sad, anything, you feel me? Like, and nah, hell yeah, his unreleased is way better for a fact.
The main reason why is just because I feel like listening to leaks with Juice is a little bit different than when you listen to leaks with other artists that are still dropping music. If you take, for example, somebody like Uzi or Trippy, they're obviously still getting say in what they're releasing. They're the ones handpicking their albums or at least making music for specific projects, where Juice, we know specific songs that he wanted to have features on, songs that he wanted on projects. We know projects like Outsiders that he himself wanted to release, and we've seen grade A, literally just changed stuff that Juice wanted, not release projects he wanted, all of that. So my main reason for listening to leaks is honestly, it's really no different to me than just listening to what they dropped. Yeah, if you listen to what they drop, it'll support the label and everything, and maybe some of that money makes its way over to Juice's family, but at the end of the day, for me, it's kind of like listening to leaks is you don't for sure know if that's what Juice wanted to put out, or it might not be the actual version of the song that he wanted, but you could argue the exact same with the label's releases because they changed the beat, they add features on or take them off that we know weren't on the songs to begin with. It's kind of just like a double-edged sword, honestly.
I don't think his unreleased is better than his release. I think in terms of what Juice wanted to put out, I think his release is good. But there are some songs that didn't quite make it to the release section of his discography. And I think those songs are worth listening to because it better entails Juice's story and how he lived and what he went through. And I think listening to his music gives people some sort of connection to him.
I don't think they handled it well enough due to the fact that they don't drop enough or they don't communicate with us. And if they do communicate, I just feel like it's a bunch of, bull and lies.
Damn, that's hard to answer, bro. Like, I wouldn't say they really did, bro. Like, they got the whole money shit involved. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what to say. I don't know. Like, they trying to have his legacy valid, like have it good, but then at the same time, there's the money shit on the side. Like, they have to make money from him. Like, it's just so weird. I don't understand.
Honestly, I don't think the label does that good of a job at taking care of Juice's legacy. I feel like they bring back a lot of old merch designs that might have literally been planned to only be one-time drops because you didn't really see Juice drop the same merch a lot. I feel like they've brought some of that older stuff back so many times, or at least pretty frequently, to the point where it kind of takes away some of the novelty that it had to it. And I also am not a fan of Fighting Demons really whatsoever. I'm just not a fan of the type of music they drop. I don't like the fact that they try to portray Juice as some kind of sad boy emo rapper. I think that we all know by now that that is not the kind of music Juice only made. He did other stuff. Obviously, the mainstream and the casual listener isn't going to know that based off albums like Fighting Demons.
To some point, I do. I think this last album wasn't really good in terms of what they could have done, but I also know that was rushed. I think maybe 2 months. So their whole idea of pushing that album just for a documentary was kind of BS. But I think what they did with Legends Never Die was, honestly, people really hate on the album. And personally, I didn't listen to Leaks as much back then either. So that album kind of gave a lot of people in the opening, especially a new view to a different side of Juice that we didn't hear because we couldn't hear that last album he wanted to put out. So I think based on what the label wants to do next with Juice's legacy, I think they can really make an impact on many people's lives in some way.
I don't really appreciate what they're doing with his legacy and his name. And that's all I really got to say about it.
I feel like they be trying to do shit, but like they don't really know how to do shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I guess they just be pushing the sad song agenda shit. Like, they just be posting all his sad shit for no reason. Like, I don't know why. Like, I don't know.
And my thoughts on the label are, I think they've taken dubs. I like to give credit where credit is due. I do appreciate the fact that they gave us stuff like Already Dead and Wander to LA, which I know a lot of people didn't like the beat change and all of that stuff, but I do appreciate them putting out actual community grails for the lead single to that project. As for some other stuff they've done, I absolutely hate the trolling that they do, the soon stuff. I hate all of that. I think it's just super annoying. It was funny at first, but now it's just to a point where they're just dragging on releases for their friend that has passed away, keep in mind. It's honestly a little disrespectful at points, and it's just super annoying if I'm being honest. If we were actually getting something dropped when they trolled, it wouldn't be as big of a deal. It would still be annoying, but the fact that they troll and don't drop or stick through with what they're doing also makes that even worse.
Personally, my thoughts are, I mean, there's always a view on the label as them being bad and them handling Juice's music as in a bad way. But when you look at how much music he has, it's really hard to put what he wanted into one album. And many people think that there's going to be multiple albums. I personally don't think there'll be more than one album. I think this next album will be his last album for a release. So I think that much pressure that builds upon, especially Bibby and Pete, I think people don't really realize that, and they expect them to put out whatever music that the people want. But you have to realize that there's so much that goes behind the scenes of putting out those types of music, and that's something I don't think a lot of people consider when asking for, or even just wanting a label to put out a song. There's so much more that goes behind the scenes.
While on the topic of fan pages, it is worth mentioning that while they are a good outlet for opinions that represent a group of people, given they were followed by thousands of people, the label isn't making a good choice in creating a group chat, which is confined to a small amount of people. This isn't the worst, however, considering it is some type of feedback system for the label, but when a group chat is considered, a multitude of psychological factors come into play, and to briefly explain, we have something called conformity. Conformity is the adjusting of one's behavior or responses to coincide with social norms. In a study demonstrating normative social influence, a man named Solomon Ash did studies where participants were shown different lines of varying length. They were then asked to answer which line was identical to another in the test. These participants were in a group setting and all heard each other's answers. The twist here is that all but one participant was informed to intentionally pick the wrong line. Let's call these people Confederates.
The experiment you'll be taking part in today involves the perception of lengths of lines. As you can see here, I have a number of cards, and on each card there are several lines. Your task is a very simple one. You're to look at the line on the left and determine which of the three lines on the right is equal to it in length. All right, we'll proceed in this order. You'll give your answer.
Only one of the people in the group is a real subject, the fifth person with the white t-shirt. The others are Confederates of the experimenter and have been told to give wrong answers on some of the trials. The experiment begins uneventfully as subjects give their judgments.
2, 2, 2, 2,
2,
3, 3, 3, 3.
But on the third trial, something happens.
2, 2, 2. 2. 2.
The subject denies the evidence of his own eyes and yields to group influence.
Within a bunch of trials, it was found that 76% of the participants that weren't Confederates conformed to the answers of the entire group in at least one trial, even if they knew that it was a wrong answer, simply to not stand out from the crowd. Later in the study, when the non-Confederate participants were allowed to write their answer on a piece of paper, however, the level of conformity dropped by 2/3 because, in that case, the answers were individual and would not show that someone is going against the crowd. In the case of this group chat, we have a similar case because everyone can see each other's opinions, and in this type of environment, saying a hot take can get a fan page shamed or even removed from the group chat because, well, Everyone else is saying that it's a good idea, right? But what if the idea is bad and everyone thinks it is as well? Paraphrasing words of a fan page that was in the group chat, because there's an authority figure, people agree in hopes of showing that they support said authority figure and are afraid of giving criticism to not be disliked by them. Of course, this enables answers to not be unique but rather in support of the group or those in the position of authority, which in this case is Lil Bibby and Pete. To avoid this conformity, the interviews held in this documentary were one-on-one between me and the interviewee, and answers were not shared between fan pages. Let's move on to the universally dreaded word in the community, being soon. Considering this word to be overused by the label heads would be an understatement. The use of this word back in the summer of 2021 would often be met with a bunch of anticipation from fans, leading them to wonder how much time exactly the word soon would mean. However, as time went on, with, for example, the Party Never Ends album, the word soon began to lose its meaning, with fans making jokes about Bibby and Pete's use of the word, with memes such as the party never starts alongside others. Insult to injury, Bibby and Pete began to take notice of the fans becoming upset with the word, and they themselves started to use soon in a joking manner, only further ruining their credibility for announcing things that, although presumably in the works, were an ambitious call to say that they were coming soon. The problem in this type of case is while the label wants to bring hype to a new project, it is either far too early to announce, given hype will die down for a novelty after a period of time, or it is an unintentional false promise, which in return instills the idea that the label lies. Unless working alongside those with the privilege of releasing music, it is impossible to tell what roadblocks may be encountered. However, what is wrong is announcing things that are only possibilities and not concrete.
Well, considering the fact that they don't drop enough or give us enough music, I do think it's moral to listen to leak.
Nah, yeah, I feel like you should be able to listen to what you want to listen to. For example, as in, if you're really a big Juice WRLD fan, like, who cares, bro? Just listen to it. The way I started listening to leaks, feel me? I got a little heartbreak and got in a little heartbreak right there. I was listening to Juice like every day. And then I started listening to leaks on SoundCloud. I'm like, what the fuck? What is this song right here? Some new shit? When he dropped this? Nah, it was an unreleased song. So then I kept going and listening to unreleased and shit. Then I found the Juice feel me? And yeah, bro, from there on, shit, we here.
I mean, as a fan of Juice, I think it's moral to listen to your favorite artist more and wanting to listen to your favorite artist more. I think that's what makes Juice such a big artist because he has such a vast collection of music for any type of person that wants to listen to him can some way connect to Juice through his unreleased music. I know many people listen to his released music and feel connected, but with so much with the amount of music that he has leaked already, it just brings a whole new community together that I don't think many people realize exists fully. I think a lot of people hate on the leak culture and how the money behind it and everything, but I think disregarding that, it's built a really strong community. And I think people would say that if they look at our community now compared to how it was maybe a year or two ago, it's really gotten a lot stronger and closer because we take the approach to Juice's music well established because we think that we know what type of music he wanted based on the snippets, based on the info. So I think it is somewhat moral to listen to Juice's unreleased.
A fairly recent announcement from Pete that was a rather sudden idea, which didn't sound thought through, was a supposed chance for the communities to show which song they'd like released. Through Instagram Live, this was discussed by Pete and a YouTuber named Complex Productions.
Alright, we should do you know what we should do? We should do a challenge. Like, maybe what if we did like a challenge where like if we made like 20,000, we should let the community pick the song, and then if 20,000 videos got made to one song, then we drop that song on TikTok. Is that OD or no?
Nah, that's obviously a good deal. Like, make a video like to the snippet or what?
Yeah, to the snippet of the song. And
all right. That's a good deal.
if we got 20,000 videos in like 1 week or 2 weeks,
Yeah,
then
make it 2 weeks, and I think that's possible. Like actually,
and
I'll make a
and the
bid on that.
and the community got to pick the song. Maybe we should do that.
All right, how you want the community to pick the song?
Complex, that's your job. You the journalist, not me.
Whatever song has 20K videos by the end of the
Nah,
2 weeks.
it gotta start. Y'all gotta pick the song first and then
All
make
right,
the videos to it.
and then I'm gonna DM you the song. You got to approve it.
Yeah, facts. First of all, I
All
gotta
right,
approve.
I bet.
And
To show which song the community wanted, a poll would be held between 4 choices, 4 highly hyped songs, of which at the time 1 was leaked and 3 unleaked. After this poll, 20,000 individual TikToks using a snippet of the song as a sound used would need to be posted to show it was garnering support to be released. Not much about this has been said since, however, whether or not anything will stem from this is anyone's guess. Here's what Complex had to say about this topic.
Yo, what's up everybody? My name's Complex Productions. I make videos on Juice, the Juice Com, and tons of other rappers like Ian, Trippy, Uzi. Those are probably some of my other favorites, but I mainly just upload news videos. I'm more of a reporter with trying to stay up to date with rap news and topics and all of that, but I also try to make videos kind of like taking deeper dives into stuff. I was excited to hold the poll for the Drive Me Crazy drop or the TikTok challenge, whatever you want to call it. I was excited to do it because Pete literally came up with that idea himself, and in the live I even said I think that would be actually a cool idea if he would have actually went through with it though. The fact that it turned out to kind of be a troll, or at least that's what it looks like, that's honestly a little annoying. Honestly, I didn't really know what to expect. I told Pete that I was going to send him the song and he had to approve it, and that was the main reason why I said that even on the Instagram live, was because I was wanting to make sure that, or at least trying to make sure that it wasn't going to be something like what it turned out to be. But at the end of the day, I don't have the song. I know people ask me all the time what happened to it. It literally just comes down to the fact that Pete never said anything about what sound to use or hashtag or whatever. So it does suck that it didn't happen, but you can really just look at Pete's track record, and I'd probably say that most definitely a lot of people saw this coming.
Impulsive acts like these are almost always over-ambitious, and depending on what the different choices are, might not at all be possible or too much work for what it's worth. And what's funny is, in the same live, Pete himself mentioned that listening to snippets was listening to leaks, so there's some self-contradiction there.
I gotta make the live because it seems like you listen to leaks, bro. So I gotta kick you.
It's not a leak, bro. It's a snippet. It's a Juice played it on live. It's not
But
leaked.
even if you listen to snippets, you listen to leaks, bro. So I gotta
So
kick you out.
Juice is the one that previewed it.
Got you, brother. Thank you.
AP, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Can we get Biscotti in there?
Very soon. You know what? You can't listen to the leaks, my brother.
In a couple of Instagram lives that I was not able to find for this documentary, Pete would mention how he doesn't listen to people that listen to leaks. This brings up the topic of insight. While it is a valid statement in the standpoint of the label, it suffers from tunnel vision and is a pointless throwaway to an insightful conversation between the point of view of someone who listens to leaks and someone who doesn't. Metaphorically, this would be a good case of keeping your friends close but your enemies closer. What is meant by this is the fact that while someone may listen to leaks, they still may have a decent suggestion, which then could be considered. A common misconception is that leak listeners only want new unleaked music, when in reality, oftentimes the community wants to see the songs they deem Juice's best released. During the time of the sudden hype of the song Off the Rip, or other name Gamble, there was a huge discussion between the community on who should feature on the song, and while this took place before the song leaked, even after it did, a large amount of people still wanted it to release, with a good feature on it because it was deemed a great song to show off Juice's talent. Of course, because of the song leaking, it was announced that the song would no longer release.
Why didn't Off the Rip drop with all the hype it had?
Because y'all leaked it. What can I say?
Which is a perfect segue to the next segment, where due to putting blame on leaks, the true legacy and quality of Juice is kept hidden from casual listeners. Speaking on behalf of Juice's highly involved community, we want to show the best of Juice off to the rest of the world, and minimize the idea that Juice was just an emo rapper, which seems to be a recurring objective with recent album releases. We would like to show that he was versatile, talented, and was on the path to becoming a household name. From a neutral standpoint, delaying or completely cancelling something like Off the Rip or the next album due to leaks lacks substance in its reasoning. In the case of leaks, regardless of the situation, will continue as long as there is a supply and demand for it, and if there is a cancellation to, let's say, the album, there's only going to be more of a demand for leaks due to the fact that an album isn't coming, and the only new output of music is said leaks. Whatever the stance someone has on leaks, it is simply a refusal to accept the inevitable, which hinders the possibility of showing Juice's best to the casual listeners and only promotes leaks further.
Well, for this one, I made a list just to get my point across, and I really don't want to sound monotone. So I made a list of 4 reasons on what they could improve on. Reason number 1 is, the the communication, whether it's because of leaks or whether it's because of other things. Another thing they could definitely improve on, reasoning number 2, is the lies. Always telling us we got stuff we're working on things, this, that. And if a song leaks, it could also do very well as a release. For a third reason is let us fans put together an album due to the fact that those who listen to leaks really know what songs would go well for an album/EP. And the last one, and I know they've talked about it before, was let producers and engineers work on albums because they know the style that Juice wanted for a certain album and what he would have wanted to drop and what to keep vaulted.
You just gotta listen to the community. I wouldn't say like the mainstream community, but you feel me, like JuiceCom, like people like them, because they really know what's actually going on. Like they really know what's up. They know what songs people will like, what songs the mainstream niggas will like. They know everything. So if they were able to like communicate, you feel me, with the fans in general, I feel like it'll be better.
Honestly, something I think the label could do a better job at is just not trolling the community. They don't even have to give us the time and day and all the information that they do or the responses that they do. They do that stuff and I think it's cool, and when they actually go through with what they're saying, I have respect sometimes for them when it's something good and that we actually get whatever they're saying. But when they just troll with us and do that stuff, that's the thing that I hate. I feel like there's just no point to say these things and do certain things when we're just going to get trolled and nothing's going to drop or whatever happens, which is usually nothing.
There's so much that they could improve upon in terms of what they're doing, what they've done previously. But I think what they really should be doing is talking to the people who are around Juice the most. I know we're working with Max Lord for his next album, but even talking to people like Carlton or Beezy, people that Juice was around so much even before signing to the label, I think that would really benefit them into picturing what he really wanted. I know some people really say that Ali should be more involved, but I feel like Ali only knows about a certain number of songs compared to maybe Beezy or Carlton or anyone really that was really around Juice during that late time, even Chris Long. So I think talking to them and working with them is a really important step they should really take into this next album.
Whether or not a fan supports leaks, we all as a community only want the label to improve and show who Juice truly was. To conclude this documentary, here's a statement that well encompasses the average Juice Leak listener. I don't listen to leaks because I hate the label. I listen to hear what Juice could have been portrayed as. Hearing leaks won't make me listen any less to Juice's released songs. If it wasn't for how poor they handled Juice's music, I probably wouldn't be listening to his unreleased. In the case that anyone with power over Juice's image is watching this, please acknowledge these criticisms and consider changing your approaches. It is a universal desire for Juice to be better represented.